I'm not the kind of guy who complains about work. I've been that person who stays late when everyone's already halfway home, who answers messages at midnight with, "Yeah, I'll take care of it." The kind of employee every company quietly builds itself on. Invisible, reliable, replaceable. Or at least that's what I thought. When the pandemic hit, our department was the first one everyone expected to crumble. Marketing budgets were cut, clients pulled out, and our VPs called it a survival phase. I took that literally. I stopped seeing my friends, moved my desk home, and started living inside spreadsheets and Slack threads. For months, I was patching holes, renegotiating contracts, running campaigns on $0, until something strange happened. We didn't just survive, we grew. By November, the numbers spoke for themselves. Revenue up 27%, operational costs down by a third, client retention highest in company history. That's when my boss, Greg, called me into his office. Or, well, into a Zoom box with fake mahogany behind him. "You saved us, man," he said, smiling that rehearsed corporate smile. "And don't worry, your bonus is already noted. You'll be happy." He even sent me a thumbs up emoji after the call. That line, "You'll be happy," stuck with me. I wanted to believe it. After all, it wasn't just numbers. I'd been the one rewriting strategies, pulling all-nighters, holding meetings with clients while my coffee went cold. I'd seen the company at its breaking point, and I was the one holding it together. So when December rolled around, I started checking the HR portal a little too often. It wasn't greed, it was validation. Proof that the year I'd spent burning myself out hadn't been for nothing. On the morning of December 22nd, my phone rang. "Hey, it's Hannah from HR," a voice said, cheerful in that scripted way HR people always are. "Just a quick update about your bonus." I opened my laptop instinctively. "Sure, go ahead." There was a pause. A short one, but heavy. "So corporate made some final budget adjustments. Unfortunately, bonuses were canceled this cycle." I blinked. "Canceled?" "Yeah, it's not just you," she added quickly. "Everyone in your bracket was affected. It's been a tough year, you know?" Except I did know. I was the one who made sure it wasn't a tough year for them. I stared at the screen, my reflection small and tired in the HR dashboard. "Right," I said. "Got it." Hannah sighed softly. "Look, I know it's disappointing, but it's not personal." Not personal. That phrase, it always means someone higher up made it very personal. I thanked her, closed the laptop, and sat there for a long time. The hum of the monitor fan filling the room. Outside, it was already dark. It was 5 p.m., and December always made the city feel smaller, tighter. Like even the air had a ceiling. I don't remember how long I sat there. Maybe 10 minutes, maybe an hour. Long enough to go from shock to anger to something colder. Because here's the thing. 2 days earlier, Greg had sent out an all-staff memo celebrating our record-breaking quarter. He'd written, "Couldn't have done it without my amazing team. Big year ahead." His name was all over it. His face was all over LinkedIn, giving interviews about his leadership. And I was right there in the photo behind him, blurred out by the algorithm. That night, I logged into the company portal again. Not to check the bonus, but out of habit. Maybe denial. The system had a hidden layer, something only managers were supposed to see. But Greg had once shown me how to navigate it for reporting. So I went there. Under year-end adjustments, I saw a list of bonus allocations, rows of employee IDs, columns of numbers. My ID, 00347, 000. Greg's ID, 012, 60,000. At first, I thought I misread it. Maybe it was a placeholder. Maybe I'd logged into the wrong environment. Then I scrolled right to the comments column. Performance-based leadership incentive, transferred from 3947, approved by finance. My chest felt hollow. Transferred. That word hit harder than the zero. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the screen, at the digital proof that a year of my life, 12 months of sleep deprivation, anxiety, and effort, had been neatly rerouted into someone else's pocket. And the best part? He probably thought I'd never find out. I sat there, my hands still on the mouse, listening to the refrigerator hum in the next room. The document was open, alive, breathing with corporate indifference. That's when I realized something. The system showed timestamps, approvals, edits, movements, and the last edit on that transfer wasn't from HR. It was from Greg's own account, made at 11:42 p.m., the night before the HR call. I exhaled slowly, the sound too loud in the quiet apartment. And I whispered, not even sure why. Okay. Because sometimes okay isn't surrender. It's the first breath before the storm. But that's when things started to get interesting. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was angry. Anger burns out fast. But because something in me shifted. It wasn't rage, it was precision. Cold, focused, surgical. I'd spent a whole year fixing everyone else's mess, learning how to balance a collapsing budget with duct tape and spreadsheets. Now it was time to fix my own. At 3:17 a.m., I opened my laptop again. Same screen, same document. Only now I looked at it differently. Like an engineer studying a machine he finally understands isn't broken by accident, but by design. Corporate systems have patterns. Every approval leaves a trail, a signature, a timestamp, a name, and Greg's name was everywhere. Approval of leadership incentive, reclassification of bonus reallocation. Final approval, Greg W. Harrison. The same man who once told me, "We're a team, brother." By morning, I had screenshots of everything. Every transfer, every edit, every innocent-looking note that proved this wasn't a system glitch. It was a decision. My boss had taken what was mine, dressed it in corporate language, and buried it under HR's favorite phrase, budget adjustments. I didn't report it. Not yet. People like Greg didn't fall because someone told on them. They fell because they got too confident to cover their tracks. So I waited. I worked. I smiled through meetings. I congratulated Greg publicly when he posted a photo on LinkedIn of himself holding the Regional Leadership Award. Captioned, "Proud to lead the best team in the business." The comments were filled with handshakes and fire emojis. "Proud to work under you." Legend. And I just scrolled, sipping cold coffee, while my own name sat in invisible ink somewhere behind his success story. But something in me refused to be erased. A week later, during an all-hands call, the CFO mentioned departmental savings that allowed for executive recognition bonuses. That phrase, executive recognition, was the code. It wasn't for the team. It was for people like Greg, people who made sure their bosses stayed happy, no matter whose work they stole to do it. After the meeting, I stayed on Zoom, pretending to take notes while everyone logged off, and then, as the participant count dropped to 0, Greg's voice came through, not realizing I was still connected. He was talking to someone in another window. Yeah, I took care of it. HR pushed back, but I told them the budget came from marketing savings." No, he doesn't know. He's too nice for that kind of game. Besides, I gave him visibility all year. He should be grateful. Visibility, that word, that's how people like him framed it. As if visibility paid rent, as if public praise could fill a bank account. I ended the call without a sound, and for the first time in months I smiled. Not from joy, from clarity. You can't fight people like Greg by shouting. They live off silence. But you can use that silence. You can weaponize it. So I started small. First, I went back through the shared project folders, the ones we all used. Greg had a habit of renaming files to make it look like he was the author. But every file carried metadata. Creator, me, modified by Greg Harrison. I collected them all, 214 documents, proposals, budgets, client decks, everything that made the company money that year, all written by me, all presented by him. Then I found the internal Slack export from last quarter, the one IT accidentally made public for 2 hours before locking it again. I still had the URL in my history. I downloaded it. Inside, Greg messaging the CFO. We can shift this under my initiative. It'll clean up accounting and make the report consistent. I copied that too. Every piece fell into place like a quiet puzzle. By the end of the week, I had a folder called Ledger. Inside, 2 gigabytes of evidence. Everything they'd used against me turned inside out. And yet I didn't move. Not yet. Because I knew if I came for him too soon, I'd lose everything. My credibility, my job, my chance to make it count. So I did what he'd never expect. I kept performing. I showed up early, stayed late, delivered spotless reports. And while he thought I was still broken, I was building something else. A story with proof. The office gossip started without my help. HR whispering about inconsistencies. Finance hinting about audit flags. I just kept my head down. Greg started calling more often. His tone changed. Less confident, more cautious. Hey man, just checking in. You doing okay after that whole bonus mix-up? Yeah, I said. All good. Just focused on the next quarter. That's what I like to hear. He thought I'd moved on. He thought wrong. Because one afternoon, while digging through archived budget files, I found something even he probably didn't notice. A misfiled PDF, auto-synced from his desktop. Title, Leadership Allocations Confidential. Inside, a table with names, amounts, and internal comments. Next to my name, primary contributor, transferred under manager's performance category per request, and the signature line, the CFO's initials but in digital stamp format. Forged. I zoomed in and saw the pixel mismatch. Greg had pasted it from another document. That's when I knew it wasn't just unethical, it was illegal. The next day he stopped by my desk, first time in months. Hey, I heard you've been working late. You good? Yeah, I said, smiling faintly. Just tying up some loose ends. He laughed, clapped me on the shoulder. That's the spirit. We've got a big year ahead. He didn't know the year was already over for him. That night I sat alone in the office, the lights humming overhead, the city glowing through the blinds. I opened the ledger folder one more time. All the screenshots, the emails, the voice recordings, the call transcript. I created a new document. Title, Bonus Discrepancy Summary. Recipient, Internal Compliance and Ethics. And before hitting send, I typed one line at the bottom of the email. If integrity still matters here, this is your chance to prove it. Then I clicked send. The email disappeared into the system. Quiet, irreversible. I leaned back, staring at the ceiling. For the first time in a long time, I felt something that wasn't exhaustion. It was anticipation. But I didn't know it yet. That email would set off a chain reaction I couldn't control. The thing about corporate chaos is, it never starts loud. It begins in whispers. Calendar invites that suddenly disappear. Meetings quietly rescheduled. Faces in the hallway that don't look at you the same way. 3 days after I sent that email, the whisper started. First, it was a message from IT. Hey, we're conducting a routine security review. Can you confirm you still need access to the Q4 reports? Routine. Right. 2 hours later, HR sent another email. We'll be performing a random audit of departmental performance metrics. Please don't be alarmed. Random, in corporate language, means targeted. By the end of the week, random had turned into urgent. Compliance was now looped in. Finance was reassessing allocations. The walls were moving, and Greg didn't even realize yet that they were closing in on him. He still strutted through meetings with that perfect managerial calm. Shirt pressed, watch glinting, pretending the house wasn't on fire. But I saw it in the micro-expressions, the way he started minimizing screens faster when people passed by, the way his voice cracked slightly when the CFO joined. Calls unexpectedly. He knew something was off. He just didn't know what. I didn't gloat. I didn't even smile. Because this wasn't revenge yet. This was preparation. The compliance team started requesting files, budget justifications, allocation breakdowns, project ownership logs. All things Greg had taken credit for, all things I'd built from scratch. Each time they reached out, I sent them everything they needed. Clean, professional, time-stamped, irrefutable. By the third request, one of the compliance officers replied with a short note. "Thank you for your cooperation. Your documentation has been extremely helpful." That ellipsis was the closest thing to applause I'd ever get. Meanwhile, Greg was unraveling. He called me into his office one Friday, the blinds half closed, his tie loosened, his smile tighter than usual. "Hey man," he began, that casual tone managers use when they're panicking but pretending not to. "There's been some noise about last year's budget. You didn't, happen to send anything to compliance, did you?" I met his eyes and shrugged. "No idea what you're talking about. Why?" He studied me, searching for something. Guilt, fear, weakness. But I gave him nothing. He leaned back, pretending to laugh. "Just checking. You know how finance gets this time of year. Everyone's under the microscope." He didn't know how right he was. That weekend, the first tremor hit. The company Slack lit up with rumors. Did someone from marketing report financial misconduct? Heard leadership bonuses are frozen. Compliance pulled Greg into a 3-hour meeting. I didn't confirm or deny. I just watched it unfold. On Monday, Greg showed up late, a first, his usual swagger replaced by something brittle. He barely spoke during meetings. At lunch, he stayed in his office, blinds fully shut. And then that night, I got an email from him. Subject, "Let's talk." Message: "I know things have been tense. Maybe we should clear the air. Grab a drink tonight, off the record." I stared at the message for a long time. The old me would have gone, would have tried to make peace, to keep things civil. But that part of me died the night HR said, "It's not personal." I didn't reply. Instead, I forwarded the email to the compliance officer handling the case. No comment, no explanation. Just the message, raw. The next morning, Greg didn't show up at work. By noon, word spread that he was on leave pending investigation. The official phrasing made it sound procedural, but everyone knew what it meant. His access was revoked. His email auto-replied with, "Out of office indefinitely." For the first time, the office felt quiet. Not peaceful, but stunned. I thought I'd feel triumphant. I didn't. It felt heavier than I expected. Because when you spend a year building something, even if it's a trap, you start to realize how much of yourself you've buried in it. Still, the machine was moving now. Finance confirmed irregularities. Legal got involved. Internal audit teams cross-referenced signatures and timestamps. And somewhere between those reports, they found the forged approval. The pixel mismatch I'd seen weeks before. The next Monday, the CFO resigned for personal reasons. 2 days later, Greg's name disappeared from the company directory. But that wasn't the end. A new message landed in my inbox from HR. "We'd like to schedule a short conversation about recent events. Nothing formal. That's corporate speak for, we're figuring out how much you know and how dangerous you are." I went, calmly. Hannah, the same HR rep who told me about the budget adjustments, was there. She looked uncomfortable, her voice softer than before. "We understand this situation has been difficult," she said. "You've been incredibly professional through all of it." I nodded. "We're conducting a full review. Just to clarify, did you personally notice the discrepancies or were they brought to your attention?" "I noticed them," I said, "while reconciling data." "Right," she murmured, typing quickly. "And you didn't discuss this with anyone before sending the report?" "No." She hesitated. That was the right thing to do. The meeting ended quickly. I left without shaking her hand. Back at my desk, I opened my laptop, and for the first time in months, there was no tension in my chest. Just a strange, steady calm. In the corner of my monitor, a notification popped up. Access request, compliance, archive, Tapai 23, zip, download available. I clicked it. Inside were copies of all my submissions, time-stamped, verified, and sealed by the compliance team. My work, my proof. I renamed the folder, the ledger, final. That night, as I left the office, I stopped by Greg's empty office. The lights were still off, but the smell of his cologne lingered faintly. His chair was gone, his desk stripped bare, just a faint rectangle on the carpet where the weight used to be. I stood there for a moment, remembering every time he said, "We're a team." Every time I believed him. Then I turned off the light and walked out. That night, I stopped being the hero. 3 weeks later, the office felt like a different place, quieter, not peaceful, just quieter, like the air itself was holding its breath. People still came in, logged on, smiled through small talk, but something invisible had shifted. You could feel it in the way meetings began with longer silences, in how jokes fell flat, in how nobody said Greg's name anymore. He'd become a ghost, and ghosts in corporate life are contagious. I kept my head down. No one knew the full story. Not HR, not finance, not even the compliance officers who'd handled the case. They had data, not context. They had proof, not motive. I had both. By early February, the internal investigation wrapped. The email came late at night, 11:08 p.m. Subject line, final resolution, body. After a thorough review, the committee has confirmed multiple breaches of ethics and policy in relation to performance-based compensation. Corrective actions have been taken. No names, no details. Corporate language knows how to erase its own crimes. At the bottom, though, was a single line that made me sit up. Adjustments to your account will be processed within 7 business days. I stared at it for a long time. No one said the word bonus. No one needed to. I closed the laptop and laughed once, quietly. Not out of joy, just disbelief. It was over. 7 days later, the transfer came through. 60,000. Exactly the number that had once been stolen, now sitting in my account like a ghost come home. But here's the truth. It didn't feel like victory. It felt like silence. The kind that comes after a storm when all the noise has drained out and you realize how much damage the calm is hiding. Because while Greg had been fired, the system that made him possible was still there. Same HR smiles, same boardroom handshakes, same posters about integrity and teamwork. They didn't care that I'd been robbed. They cared that I'd found proof. After the payout, people treated me differently. The whispers were back, only softer now. He's the one who reported it. He took down Greg. Don't get on his bad side. I'd become a warning instead of a person. The CFO's replacement, a clean, polite woman named Victoria, called me into her office a week later. She smiled the way executives do when they've been told to build bridges. "I wanted to personally thank you for your professionalism," she said. I nodded. "You did the right thing, and we take integrity seriously." That word again. Integrity. I almost laughed. She leaned forward. "You have a future here, you know. People notice. Leadership notices." I met her eyes and smiled faintly. I think I've done enough noticing for a while. She didn't get it. None of them did. I went back to my desk, opened my email, and drafted my resignation letter. 1 sentence. No emotion, no bitterness, no farewell speech. Effective immediately, I resigned from my position. Thank you for the opportunity. Before sending it, I attached one file. The ledger, final.zip. The complete documentation of everything that had happened. No explanation, no comment. Just the truth, archived. I sent both, the resignation and the file, and closed my laptop for the last time. Walking through the hallway felt strange. The carpet muffled my steps. The glass walls reflected my face back at me, smaller with every step. I passed Greg's old office, now occupied by a new manager, young, ambitious, smiling too wide. He looked up and waved. I didn't wave back. At the exit, Hannah from HR stopped me. "I just wanted to say, I'm glad things worked out for you," she said softly. I looked at her for a moment. Yeah, I said. They did. And I meant it, just not the way she thought. Outside, the winter air hit me like a clean slate. The city lights were harsh, but honest. I walked without destination, hands in my pockets, the phone buzzing with new messages, LinkedIn pings, unread emails, congratulations from people who'd ignored me all year. I turned it off. Somewhere between the noise of traffic and the wind, I realized I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even satisfied. I was free. Freedom doesn't come from revenge. It comes from closure. And that night, I finally understood the difference. When I got home, I opened my laptop one last time. Not to check my account, but to delete everything. The ledger, screenshots, recordings, evidence, gone. Because the story wasn't about him anymore. It was about me. The version of myself that stayed silent too long, that kept believing in promises, that thought loyalty meant sacrifice. He was gone too. Before closing the lid, I wrote one last note to myself in a blank document. Next time, I build something for me. Then I shut it. The room went quiet. Outside, the city kept breathing, and for the first time in over a year, I didn't feel like I owed anyone anything. Justice doesn't always come with applause. Sometimes it just comes with peace.